If you own a home or you're thinking about buying one, then you must watch this video because homeowner insurance policy premiums are increasing rapidly. Now, this is going to affect your monthly payments and the affordability of a home that you might be buying. But there are some laws that the government is putting out to help mitigate some of those costs. So make sure you stay tuned on this episode of Welcome to another episode of Morning Cup of RealTea. My name is Jared Allison. I'm a real estate agent with Century 21 Alton Clark here in the Central Florida area, but I cover all over the state, and I keep up with the industry news and trends so that way I can keep you informed. I have interviewed Victoria Melton on this episode talking about homeowners insurance policies. She is the owner of Stone Key Insurance Group in Winter Park, and they're licensed to actually write policies all over the state of Florida. If you want to talk to Victoria, you can call 407-542-8160, or you can send her an email at victoria@stonekeyinsurance.com. They also have a website, stonekeyinsurance.com. All right, homeowners insurance policies, man, they are on the rise, and it's hard to keep up with how quickly these premiums are increasing. Most likely, if you've had a renewal come up here in the past 6 months or a year, maybe even a year and a half, you've seen your policy increase. I can tell you, mine definitely has. My current policy premium is about $1,900, and I have a renewal coming up in May. And I just got the new policy quote for $3,600. Yes, from $1,900 to $3,600. It's about a 90% increase. And in some cases, like I said, it's either doubled or even more than double, depending on whether or not you're in a flood zone or where you're at, what the risks are for your area. So in this episode, I've talked to Victoria about a week and a half ago or so, and I recorded our conversation. I've put some clips together of what we talked about. So the first thing I asked her is why she thought rates were on the rise.
Well, this has been like the perfect storm. This has been a combination of assignment of benefits fraud going on for more than 10 years. Insurance fraud plus hurricanes plus claims abuse in Central Florida.
Yeah, so there's quite a few things that are going into these premium increases. And like she said, it is a perfect storm of everything just sort of coming together, and these insurance companies are going out of business or pulling out. And this is the next thing that Victoria talks about.
We've had dozens of companies going insolvent and out of business or being taken over. So what did the ones that didn't want to go insolvent do? They pulled out.
Yeah. So yeah, when we start having fewer companies in Florida in order to, to have insurance policies written, then the ones that are left are going to have to increase the premiums, and that's exactly what's happening. So they're either going out of business because they can't afford to pay out all the claims, so they've gone out of business, or you have companies that just altogether stopped issuing policies for the entire state of Florida. They're still in business and writing policies in other states, but in Florida, nada. They're not paying, or they're not writing any new policies. So let's get into talking about, and kind of going into some detail as to why these premiums are going up, and talking a little bit more about some of these reasons. So the first one that Victoria mentioned was, or one of them that she mentioned, was natural disasters. So basically Florida, we've had some very destructive natural disasters this past couple of years, mostly hurricanes. And, especially last year when we had the real big one, Hurricane Ian, and then it was followed up by another hurricane, which did not help anybody. We had a lot of flooding, a lot of damage. There was a lot of wind damage and things like that. So that's basically opened the floodgates on claims to these insurance providers. Most of the claims are legit, but there is also a spike in fraudulent claims, which is going to further drive up the rates. Now, the fraudulent claims, this is nothing new. This is something it has actually been increasing over the past several years, but nonetheless, the more fraudulent claims there are, that just means that the insurance companies have to basically spend time, money, resources on fighting those fraudulent claims and getting them dismissed because they're probably getting sued for those claims. And the more time that they have to spend doing that, the more money it's going to cost them. Insurance companies should be able to handle all the legit insurance claims, but like I said, when you throw in all the fraudulent ones, it's not going to help things. And ultimately what happens is they're going to have to increase the premiums, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. Another thing that she mentions was assignment of benefits, or AOB. I'm going to talk about that here in just a few minutes when we get into the laws that have been passed, because there's some changes with assignment of benefits, and I'll describe that here in just a couple minutes. Another factor is the rising cost of labor and material to repair or rebuild the home. So if you get damage, you have to repair it. And some of these items, such as roofing material and wood and everything, there's been an increase in cost. Some of it due to inflation, some of it due to just lack of materials. And the insurance companies didn't really have a way to offset that. So they've sold these policies back, but when materials were down at a certain level, and then all of a sudden they increased at a rate that was not normal, and so now they're having to pay out on these claims a higher amount than what was anticipated because of material and labor cost has gone up. The other thing too, so when you do file a claim and then the insurance company, let's say they don't want to pay it, you have the option to go to an arbitration, essentially, to where you're going to settle out of court. So maybe they weren't going to pay it, or they weren't going to approve it, or they're not giving you as much as you were hoping to get. So you can file a lawsuit and sue your insurance company. And what's going to happen is they're going to try to settle it out of court. But if they're not giving you the amount that you think is fair, then you can definitely 100% take it to court and sue them. You have to hire attorneys to do that. You have to hire lawyers, or at least you want to. I would not recommend trying to take on these big insurance companies by yourself. You really should hire somebody that knows these insurance companies, that knows the laws and everything like that. It's going to pay for itself. So what would happen is if it goes all the way to court and then you end up winning the case, and you're going to get a payout from the insurance company, and then also the insurance company has to pay for the attorney fees. So this is one of the things that's actually going to change in the law, and we're going to talk about that here in just a few minutes. The last thing that Victoria mentioned was the insurance companies are going insolvent and or just leaving. So like I said, the fewer companies that we have here in the state of Florida, it's going to be harder to get a premium, and we're going to have, or to get a policy, and we're going to have to pay a higher premium because there's not as much competition. When there's less competition, prices are going to go up because these companies can now they kind of have to go up in order to offset what they may have to pay out. So another thing to think about that Victoria brings up is this right here.
They can't just arbitrarily raise their prices. They have to go through the state and get approval, right? So if you were the one company that was still riding and your rates were any kind of reasonable at all, then you just piled on business, and along with that, you got all the claims that went with it.
Exactly. So, we're talking about, these companies, they can raise the rates, but they do have to get approval through, certain entities and things like that. They can't just come in and say, all right, I'm going to charge this, and then over here I'm going to charge, in the same neighborhood. They can't just do that. All of these rates are laid out, and they have to be approved by government bodies, and basically the state of Florida. They have to go through an approval process. So what's happened is we've cut down on the number of companies that are here, but they weren't able to just readily and easily raise the rates in which they are going to charge the consumer. So they took on all these new policies, and then we had those couple of natural disasters, those couple of hurricanes last year, and then it was just like, tons and tons of claims that were coming in. So, these are some of the reasons as to why insurance premiums have been increasing over the past few years. Now, there are more than that, but these are some of the top reasons why we've seen an increase in these premiums. But how do we mitigate what we just talked about? Well, that's what the Florida lawmakers have been working on. And they actually passed a law in December 2022, December of last year, called the Property Insurance Reform Act of 2022. And it went into effect of January this year, 2023. And this law is basically designed to help stabilize the state's property insurance markets. So there's been a lot of turmoil in this law. There's a lot of things that are in it, but I'm going to try to pick out some of the highlights and share them with you here and some of the things. And I really want to know what you think about some of these things. Leave a comment down below. Let me know. I'm really curious to see what your thoughts are on some of these policy changes towards the insurance companies. Is this Reform Act, is it more favoring the insurance companies, or is it more favoring the consumer, or do you think it's kind of a mix? So I'm really curious what you think. So the first thing is requiring insurance companies to pay out claims more quickly. We all know that you have some damage to your house, you file that claim, and then it's just a waiting game. And there really hasn't been a strict timeline as to when they have to pay out. So what this new law does is it actually puts a strict timeline on there based on the type of claim and how much it is and some other factors. And it's as soon as you file it, the clock starts ticking. So the insurance company is going to have a certain amount of time that they actually have to make a move and either give you money or let you know what they're going to do. The other thing is prohibiting insurance companies from canceling policies without cause. We've seen this for number of times in the past where, for example, a lot of people are afraid to actually make a claim in fear of they would get canceled. The insurance company would end up canceling their policy. So let's say you had roof damage and then you made a claim to get a new roof, and then all of a sudden they come back and say, hey, we'll fix the roof, but then come renewal time, nope, we're not going to renew your policy. Now you got to go find another insurance carrier to try to take you, or to try to get a policy. So what this law does is it prohibits them from they have to have some sort of legitimate clause. I'm sure these reasons are spelled out in the actual law. I'm not going to go through them here. If you want to look at it more in detail, then definitely do some research on it. But yeah, they have to have some legit reasons before they just cancel your policy. The other thing is the law is going to make them increase the amount of money the insurance companies have to have on hand to pay out claims. So the insurance companies they keep a liquid amount of cash on hand in order to start paying out some of these claims. So what this law is doing is it's increasing that amount of money that they have to have. You can almost think about it like a reserve in a condo. In a condo, they should have like a reserve. So basically it just means if there's maintenance or certain things that have to be paid for, they don't have to ask all the owners of the condo for money to fix those things. They can just pull it out of the reserve. So essentially they're going to have to increase the reserve or the amount of money that they have on hand. Creating a new state-run insurance company to provide coverage to homeowners, which we know as citizens. So this is if you can't find a policy on a private market, on a private insurance company, we have the state has created something called Citizens Insurance. So it's a state-run company, and it's only meant to be used in the event that a homeowner, you can't get coverage from one of these private carriers. And one of the things in the law is it says if that private carrier is 20% or more. So in other words, if the private carrier, ABC Insurance Company, let's say they can provide you a policy that is within 20% of what the Citizens price would be, you have to go with the private carrier. If it's more than 20% than what Citizens is going to be, then you have the option to go with Citizens. Citizens is a good backup. I don't recommend it as a primary just because there are some things in the policy. It's not meant to be a primary carrier, to begin with. But number two, there are some things in the policy that, and if you haven't really looked at it, you really should go and look at it, because there's actually something in there that that allows Citizens to create an assessment on all the policyholders. So what does that mean? Basically, what that means is, because we can't let Citizens go out of business. This is a government funded entity. This is, to help the citizens of the state of Florida. So if there's an influx of claims and Citizens doesn't have enough money to to pay out all those claims, and they can create an assessment and say, hey, you own a policy, we're assessing you $4,000. So now whatever you've already paid for your premium, they're asking for another $4,000, or whatever the amount that they determine that they need. So yeah, go check out your policy if you have a Citizens insurance policy. It's not a bad carrier. Don't get me wrong. It's a good carrier, especially if you're getting a better rate. But just that's one thing that you really need to be aware of. And currently right now, Citizens has over 1 million policies on file. So that is a lot. And like I said, this is not meant to be a primary carrier, but it's sort of becoming that way. Another thing here is basic flood insurance. So flood insurance is potentially going to be required over the next several years, and it's not going to be an option. Even if you're not in a flood zone, they're gonna stagger it, and so you're going to be required to have flood insurance. So in April of this year, so basically we're here now, homeowners in high-risk flood zones will be required to purchase flood insurance. Required. Now, you should have already purchased flood insurance if you are in a high-risk flood zone, but you're going to be required to do it. The second one, in April of next year, homeowners in a moderate risk flood zone will be required to purchase flood insurance. And then get this, in April 2025, all homeowners in Florida will be required to purchase flood insurance. I'm not in a flood zone, but in April 2025, guess what? I'm going to have to purchase flood insurance. There's no way this house is going to flood unless, there's just, where we're at, it's not going to happen. The property will flood, but the house we're up on a little mound and a hill, and it's just, but I'm going to be required to purchase flood insurance. Now, between now and 2025, could that go away, or could that get thrown out of the law? Of course, but as it sits right now, that is the case. In 2025, everybody is going to be required to purchase flood insurance. Okay. One of the other things, they've also made updates as to how much you're going to get for your roof based on its age. So, Victoria, take it away.
So you can get a roof schedule endorsement. What it is that as your roof ages, like say your roof is 1 to 5 years old or something like that, if you have a catastrophic event, they'll replace the whole roof. But then as it gets older and as it ages, you'll get less and less and less, and it's on actual cash value. So what you're going to get with a 3-year-old roof is not what you're going to get if you have an 18-year-old roof. Basically, an 18-year-old roof, you'll get next to nothing, because the life of the life left on the roof is next to nothing. Right.
So in the past, we've seen a lot of people having a hard time getting, first thing, getting insurance on a roof that was 15 years or older. A lot of people were getting dropped or being threatened by the insurance companies, saying that, hey, your roof is old because and we're not going to renew your policy, or we're not going to even issue a policy until it gets replaced. The reason they do that is because the insurance company has always been responsible to pay 100%. Your roof could be right at the end of its life, and then all of a sudden a storm comes through or something happens, and then, shingles start blowing off, even though that roof needed to be replaced already. But now, that insurance company was responsible to pay 100% for the replacement of a roof. What's happening now is the insurance companies aren't going to be responsible for 100% of it, and it's going to be based on how old your roof is. I'm not sure who's going to determine how old it is or what condition it is and what the proration is going to be. I'm not really sure how that's going to work, but just be aware that if your roof is 15 years old or 19 years old or whatever, and you get damage to your roof, the insurance company is not going to pay 100%. They're going to give you a prorated amount. Like Victoria said, if it's old, you're going to get next to nothing. And guess who has to pay the rest of it? The difference, you do as the homeowner. So that is one of the things in this law that, I think a lot of people aren't going to like, but the insurance companies definitely going to like. And ultimately it's going to, help bring down premiums, or it should help bring down premiums. Okay. Earlier, I mentioned something called AOB, which is assignment of benefits. So we used to have, and I'll use this for an example since we're talking about roofs. We used to have a lot of roofers going around door to door and telling homeowners that, hey, you could get your roof replaced and for free through your insurance company. Basically, what they do is the insurance or the roofer, they're going to get on your roof. They know that you had some sort of qualifying storm or natural disaster or something in your area. So they're going to get on your roof, and then they're going to find any little defect and say, okay, yep, I see a couple little spots with some hail damage or something like that. Then, they can replace your roof and make the insurance company pay for it. What happens is you actually assign the benefits of your insurance policy to the roofer. The roofer then, they call the insurance company to start that process. They go ahead and replace the roof, and then the insurance company pays the roofer directly instead of paying the policyholder. They pay the roofer because you have assigned the benefits over to that roofer for that particular claim. Roofers have been doing this for quite some time, and it's been so lucrative that they actually have lawyers on staff, and lawyers because, or they have them on staff because, they file these claims, and then the insurance company doesn't want to pay it out. So then guess what? The roofer takes them to court. So they have these lawyers on staff to take them to court and hopefully win the case. And then guess what would happen before is the insurance company would then have to pay for that roofer's attorney fees. So the roofer, it's a win-win for them. They're getting paid to replace the roof, and then, they didn't cost them anything to take the insurance company to court. So that is one of the things that's changing. You're no longer going to be allowed to assign that benefit to the roofer. If the roofer comes by and they say, hey, we want to replace your roof, well, you as the homeowner have to file that claim. You as the homeowner will have to fight it if the insurance company says, nope, we're not paying it. And then you as the homeowner may have to pay your attorney fees. And that's kind of the next thing I'm going to talk about here. So like I said before, the insurance companies used to pay for the attorney's fees if you won the court case. If you lost the court case, then you're going to have to pay your own fees. If you win the court case, then the only way the insurance company is going to have to pay the attorney's fees is if the insurance company was acting in bad faith. And that's basically going to be either for the jury to decide or the judge to decide whether or not the insurance company was acting in bad faith. If they were, then they will pay out your attorney's fees. Otherwise, if they were acting in good faith, trying to, pay out the claim, but it just wasn't what you wanted and you needed just a little bit more, they were trying to work with you and it still went to court anyways, you as the policyholder you're going to have to pay for your own attorney fees. Now, I mean, that could get pretty expensive because there's a lot of, lawyers are pretty pricey, especially when it comes to these insurance policies, because there's a lot of paperwork, there's a lot of laws that they have to know, and then just, so the time to get through all of that, and then the time it takes to fight these companies it ends up costing you a lot. So that's coming out of either your pocket or it's coming out of the payout that the insurance company is going to give you. They're not going to give you extra to pay for those attorney fees. So this is another one that people are thinking, yeah, this is sort of in favor of insurance companies because, what's the, I don't know. It's so, but either way, there's basically mixed reactions with this, as far as whether it's good or bad. I'm not really sure. Again, let me know. I'm curious to what you think. What you think about all these different policy changes and laws that are coming into effect. Some people are believing that the law is going to go a long way to actually stabilize the property insurance market, and of course, others believe the law does not go far enough, and that more needs to be done to help the homeowners. And I don't think they're going to stop there. I think this is a reform act, so this is going to be something that's going to be debated and changed, and they're going to modify it to sort of make it better as we move forward. But this is kind of what it is right now. Again, let me know what you think in the comments. And then, talking to Victoria, the last thing I wanted to ask her was, could she think of any ways to help reduce your increasing premiums? And, to be honest, there's really not a whole lot you can do, but listen to what she has to say.
Well, if you've got a newer roof, get a windstorm mitigation if your home is older than 2002. If it's newer than 2002, you're already getting windstorm mitigation credits unless you have hurricane shutters. Hurricane shutters, you have to prove with the windstorm mitigation. But if your house is older than 2002 and you've got a newer roof newer than 2002, get a windstorm mitigation because that will help you out. The other thing I recommend that if you are putting on a new roof or you are doing any improvements to any of the systems on your 4-point, which is your electrical, AC, roof, plumbing, get a permit, because especially with plumbing and the roof, a lot of these companies, they're demanding permits. Like if you don't have a permit, it didn't happen.
Yeah, that's very true. The permitting, you got to have permits when you're doing these big projects like that, because if there's not a permit, it's a higher risk for the insurance carrier to give you a policy, because the chances of something being damaged are higher because, the state didn't have somebody come in and inspect the work and so on and so on. So permitting, yes, you definitely want to get the permitting, when it has to do with those things that Victoria mentioned. The other thing is the wind mitigation. Like she said, if you have a newer roof, then yeah, get the wind mitigation. That could help reduce your policy. There are other things that you can do. I think if you have an alarm system, that'll help reduce it a little bit. But the best thing to do is just call Victoria and talk to her about ways to reduce your premiums. She can run quotes for different companies, the companies that are still left here in Florida. She can run quotes for them, including Citizens, just to see what it's going to come out to be. I don't have Citizens, but again, my premium is at it's going to be at $3,600, going up from $1,900. So, and I actually have her running some quotes for me to see if she can help me with it. I mean, I'm not sure what the lowest quote will come back as, but man, I really hope it's going to be less than $3,600. But yeah, insurance is a very important part of home ownership, and to be honest, it's becoming a financial burden to many. These insurance premiums, as they go up, people are not going to be able to afford the monthly payments. I mean, you figure a $1,900 payment versus a $3,600 a year payment. That's a pretty big difference. And it's causing a lot of issues for affordability in homes, not just people that are buying homes, but people that are already in homes and then getting these increased premiums. They flat out can't afford the additional payment just because everything else is so expensive. Food and entertainment and gas and everything like that. So, but if you want to run some more quotes, if you want to get in touch with Victoria, here, she'll tell you how you can get in touch.
All right, Jared. Yeah. So you can find us at www.stonekeyinsurance.com. Our Facebook is Stone Key Insurance. And our phone number is 407-542-8160. And my email is victoria@stonekeyinsurance.com. all spelled out.
All right. Yep. So get in touch with Victoria. She's really, really good at what she does. She's run a couple of quotes for some real estate clients of mine, and she's running quotes for me right now. So I'll update everybody what I hear back from her, if we were able to find a lower premium or not. But thank you so much for watching this one. If you have any questions about real estate in your area, don't hesitate to reach out or leave a comment down below, so then that way I can see it and I'll respond as soon as I can. And if you enjoyed this episode, hit that thumbs up or the like button. And then if you want to see more videos like this one, hit that subscribe. It does help my channel grow if you're watching on YouTube. Again, I appreciate it. Also, if you would like to listen to the audio only versions of this episode or previous episodes, you can find me on Spotify. All you have to do is search JDA Florida Homes or click on the link in the description. All right, guys, until next time, cheers.